My name is Neil and this is Real Life Architecture, and if you watch the channel regularly, you know that I make content about altering, extending and renovating homes in the UK. This is not my usual video. Today I'm going to be making pulled pork. This is one of my hobbies. I like barbecue, I like cooking, and so I'm going to start by showing you how I prep this, and then I'm going to show you how I smoke it over a period of many hours, and then how I serve it. We're having friends around for a barbecue this afternoon. Let's get started. So I've got a large pork shoulder joint. It's about 2 kilos, and I'm going to take the skin off. You could cook it with the skin on, but it will remain inedible after smoking it. The temperature's too low for this to really render out. So you could turn this into crackling separately. That's a long drawn out process. You've got to boil it, you've got to dry it out, then you've got to roast it or fry it. It's not an easy process. So I'm going to just take this off and keep it for another day. The other main reason I take the skin off is because it exposes more meat underneath, and that is flavor. When I prep this, I'm going to cover it in spices, and that's going to form an outer layer or bark, sometimes called a crust. So it's important to really hit the outer crust with a really heavy amount of flavor, because overall, if you look at the entire volume, that's 2+ kilos. The outer few millimeters is only going to make up a few percent, I don't know, 5% maybe of the overall flavor profile of this thing. So the first thing to do is not to start laying on the spices, it's to lay on something that will bind the spices to the meat, and I use mustard. You don't have to wear gloves to do this. I like to do it, and if you're not wearing gloves, I'd suggest keep one hand for touching the meat and the other hand clean. Now you'll notice, because I've taken off the strings that bind this, it's kind of getting loose. So we're going to have to think about how we fold this together and it goes onto the smoker. So I have my own purpose-built smoker. I made it myself. I'll show it to you. You could use a regular barbecue, or you could even just do this in an oven at home. But I think the smoker gives a unique flavor you're not going to get using more conventional cooking methods. So that's the mustard, or the key, the thing that's going to hold all of the flavors together. Next up, we're going to make the mixture of spices. I'm going to take these gloves off and start from scratch. So you can use any blend of spices you want, and I've got a spice shaker here, which once I've mixed them up will help me uniformly distribute them around the meat. And I'm going to start by just using some basic salt and pepper. Now you could weigh this out. I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm going to use some hot chili powder. If you don't like spice, don't worry about it, you can add it afterwards. Some cumin. Really like that, gives a nice earthy flavor to the meat. You have to remember there's a lot of fat in here. You need things that will balance out the fat, and I'm going to come back to how I do that. This is some regular paprika. I don't use smoked paprika because I'm going to be doing a lot of smoking on this meat. I'm going to use special kinds of wood that impart a smoky flavor, so adding more smokiness to it might overdo it. I have to be careful about that. And I've got some onion powder, or onion granules. If I was on a building site and I found guys eyeballing things, I would lose it with them. I'm very precise in my professional life, but sometimes it's nice to just relax and do things by eye. So I'm going to start by just sprinkling it around. Oh, you can see that's going on really nice. We want to aim to get every surface of the meat. Everywhere that you coat is going to become crunchy and flavorful, and that's going to get mixed in with the leaner, fatter meat after the cooking is done, and it's all chopped up into small, stringy, delicious portions. That's pretty good. Looks like I eyeballed it properly. Now, secret step, I've got this, which is a mixture of cloudy apple juice and some brown sugar, and I'm going to inject it into the meat, because if you cook this and it gets too hot, it can dry out too quickly. So I've got this vicious looking implement, which is a food syringe. I'm going to use this later on while it's cooking to baste the outside of the meat, but to begin with, I'm just going to get that in there, inject a little bit in until it starts coming out. You'll see it squirt out somewhere else in a second. Yep, there it is. So I'm going to get it here, and this just helps control the speed at which we cook it. And you want to get it into the fattest part of the meat. It gets in between the muscle fibers. I really wouldn't fancy going to the doctors if they were wielding these things. I hate needles. So I've put in about 100 mils of apple juice and brown sugar. I'm going to let this sit for a while just to come up to room temperature, and in the meantime I'm going to start prepping the smoker. Let's go see that. You could use a regular barbecue like this one to smoke. If you've got these trays, you can fill those with your charcoals and some timber, and that will then allow you to place the meat somewhere else away from that direct heat and use indirect cooking to cook your pulled pork. But I have my own custom built smoker out here. And this is a 45-gallon stainless steel drum. I got it during COVID, and I built my own smoker. I haven't used it yet this year, so I need to clean it up before we start cooking in it. The inside of the barrel is absolutely caked in what is effectively tar, because when you smoke things come out of the charcoal and also from the wood that I use. And I'm using plum, which my father-in-law felled several years ago. It's bone dry, so I'm soaking it so that it doesn't just incinerate. It will slowly release its flavor. Plum gives, it's hard to describe, sort of sweet kind of flavor to the meat. It's very nice. You can use any wood you want as long as it's from a fruiting tree. Don't use scraps of softwood from a building site because they've been probably treated with various noxious things. Any tree that bears fruit like apple or plum, they're pretty good. You can easily get hold of those in the UK. Believe it or not, this was a shiny stainless steel 45-gallon drum, had never been used for anything else. It was new. You can get ones that are recycled. Don't if you're going to do that, because who knows what kind of chemicals have been in it. And you can see over time it's just blackened because the tar from the cooking process just puts on layer after layer. There's no point trying to clean it. You'll never get it right. I've added these chains here which sling across this so I can hang ribs in it, but also I've got these points which will support the grill, which is what we're using today. And it's got valves down here. They're just ordinary plumbing inline valves. There's a ball valve in there and you turn it to shut it and you leave it open like that to allow air in and out. Mostly in. It draws in air at the bottom and allows air out at the top. So it's been about half an hour since I started this. The charcoals in here are now moving along. All of the firelighters have burned away. You do not want to put the meat in when the firelighters are still burning because they'll impart that nasty, toxic petrochemical flavor into your meat. That's not good. I'm going to start adding these plum branches in here and I'm going to put them around the edge of the fire. I want the fire to start at one end and spread to the other, which is what I'm aiming for. It's going to start over here and move along, because I'm going to be cooking this for at least 3, possibly 4 hours. The thing is to make sure you put the fatty side of the meat at the top. You want the fat on top so that when this slowly cooks, it will render down through the meat and allow all that fat to fall into the meat rather than into the fire. This is the crucial control for cooking the meat. So ultimately it's only sitting at about 15 degrees. We'll just check it over here. It's cool because I pumped it full of liquid. We want this to get to about 90, somewhere between 88 and 92 Celsius is the end result temperature we're looking for. And that's the point at which the collagen inside the meat will have turned to liquid and will go through the muscles and give you that nice juicy, fat, fall apart, tender, pulled pork that you're looking for. So we're looking to aim for at least 90, and that might take 3 to 4 hours to achieve. Okay, I've been cooking for about 2 hours and the drum's temperature is about 110, 115 degrees Celsius. And that is what you're looking for. That is bark. You can see how dark it is, and it's, oh yeah, it's got slightly crispy to it. That's exactly what we need. So what we're going to do is check the internal temperature, and I can feel there's still resistance when I put the probe in. 55 Celsius, give or take. We are now approaching something called the stall, and the stall is when the internal temperature of the meat just doesn't rise any further, and it could take an hour or 2 or 3 for that to play out. What's happening is that moisture inside the meat is getting to the surface of the meat and it's evaporating, and you're getting evaporative cooling. And evaporative cooling takes a huge amount of energy. To turn liquid water into water vapor requires massive amounts of energy. So no matter how much heat is in the system getting to the meat, it won't make the internal temperature of the meat any higher because all the moisture is trying to turn into steam effectively. 2 ways to get around this. One is you just wait it out. You sit there 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, however long. The bigger the cut of meat you have, the longer that's going to take. And remember, I put moisture into this. I injected this with apple juice and sugar to try and stop it from cooking too quickly. Now we're getting the opposite end of that effect. It's not cooking quite quickly enough. The second way to resolve the stall is to wrap the meat in something like tinfoil. And that's what I'm going to do. And you effectively then create a kind of mini pressure cooker. So I'm going to leave the tray where it is. Whoa. And bring the meat over here, put it pretty much in the middle. It's still quite tough. It still needs to cook for at least another hour, maybe 2. Hard to say. Next thing I'm going to do is get this almost completely wrapped. Now I'm going to add 2 things to this. I've got butter and brown sugar solution here, which I've warmed up in the microwave so it's nice and melted. That's going to add fattiness and sweetness to the outside of that bark. I'm going to add that on. Next thing, I'm going to add in some of this apple juice and sugar that I had earlier. Just add it to the bottom here. That looks amazing. Right, so we're going to put it back on. It's wrapped in a double layer of tinfoil to make absolutely sure that it's going to be okay when the pressure starts to rise. I don't want it to stay trapped in there. I want it to be able to get out, but I want it to be able to also spend some time forcing its way out so it increases the pressure inside that tinfoil and it's not going to leak down into the fire and start putting the fire out. So let's put this back on. Okay, we have been cooking for 4 hours and I think we're done. Let's probe it and check the internal temperature. 67, 83, 87, has to hit 92. 91.1, 0.6. Boom, that's it, we're done. Okay, so this is by far the single most important stage in the whole process. If you mess this up, you could ruin the whole thing. Thankfully, it's fairly simple. You just need to wait. What's happened is that while we were cooking the meat, the muscle fibers got really tight because they were so hot. Now as it starts to cool down over the next half hour or so, those muscle fibers will relax and collagen and other liquids will start making their way in between them. And that's what gives you the succulent, juicy pulled pork. So we just need to come back in about half an hour. Our guests are here. I'm going to fire up the regular barbecue, make some burgers and sausages, and in about half hour or so come back and shred this. Okay, we're back where we started and I'm going to shred the pulled pork. So you can see there's an enormous amount of liquid in here. This is really tasty stuff. Big meat cleaver just to help with the process. Oh, that is superb. And what you can see, if you look at that, is the bark, which is full of spice and flavor, and the pinkish part, that's the bit that's been smoked. And below that is the white meat, which is lean and soft. Wow, so good. And what I'm trying to aim for is to get the pink smoked bit and the crusty dark parts to mix with the whiter, leaner meat so that it's evenly distributed throughout. Okay, next step in the process is to add some flavor, because what we've got here is very spicy, salty and fatty, and we need something that will cut through all of that. So I'm going to add some apple cider vinegar. Just ladle that out, that's enough. And I'm going to add some fish sauce. Now, if you've never used fish sauce before, this stuff tastes amazing. It adds a layer of umami, really, really rich flavor, but the smell is out of this world. It is really, really unappealing, the smell. But when you mix it with something fatty or spicy, it's magic. I don't know how to describe it. It just makes the thing just lift. It tastes amazing. You don't need much. And then I'm going to add some soy sauce. Now I've got some chili sauce here. I'm not going to add it to the whole lot. I'm going to put 2 bowls out. One will be spicy, the other will be just as it is. That's Baba's chili sauce, made in Dundee. It's available online, you can get it anywhere, but it is brilliant. I think it's the only chili sauce I've found that closely replicates what you get in a kebab shop. It's sort of creamy and smooth, but also fiery. It's thick, it's lovely, it's fantastic. Just ladle that on, don't spare it. And that's going to be our spicy pulled pork. And the other one is going to be our original pulled pork. Okay, I'm going to serve this up and let's see what people think.
The pulled pork has a wonderful, complex taste that is hard to describe. Everyone had some and really enjoyed it. I've posted the recipe in the description, so check that out. Like I said, this is not my usual content, but if you enjoyed it, let me know and I will make more cooking videos. My name is Neil and this is Real Life Architecture. I usually talk about altering, extending and renovating homes in the UK. If you want to see more of my regular content, check out the playlist on screen now.